afternoon. Filip Keuppens is a seasoned sales and marketing executive serving as CEO of the Pickle Juice company, the functional beverage brand known for its purpose-built drinks that help stop muscle cramps and support hydration. He's led the company's strategic growth and global expansion after joining the leadership team in 2015, shaping distribution, branding, international market development. Prior to Pickle Juice, Keuppens built his career in sales roles at Heinz Company, Warner Home Video, and 20th Century Fox, and brings a background in sports, hospitality, and team leadership to his work in pioneering an innovative category in sports nutrition. Under his leadership, the company has secured growth investment to scale product innovation and broaden retail presence while maintaining its mission of functional performance hydration. So, I know I got into a little bit of it there, but do you want to tell me a little bit about how you got into this category? It sounds like you've got an interesting background spanning, entertainment industry and a little bit of big CPG. So how'd you find yourself running a functional beverage company made from pickle juice?
Yeah, thanks for that kind introduction. By the way, it's great to be here. It's interesting because it was always kind of CPG centric my career, whether I knew it or not. And with Heinz, it was overtly CPG centric, but I was on the food service side, so it was a lot more back end strategy type of stuff than getting bottles on the shelf. And then when I was with Warner, I got involved with front of the house CPG. We were selling DVDs and Blu-rays through Walmart, Target, Costco, Amazon, and your local grocers. And then I took transitioned over to the Fox. I was recruited there to be the director of sales, and then the people stopped buying DVDs, so I had to find something else to
do. Good pivot to functional beverages, right?
Sure, why not? No, it was. But that space really prepared me well because we had to get extremely good at forecasting as our retailers had 100% return privileges, and the SKU life cycle was 4 weeks. Was 80% of total SKU sales for any SKU occurred in the first 4 weeks. So we really had to get our launches right. We had to get our forecasting right, and that positioned me pretty well for like hyper growth companies. Having been involved in sports and stuff for a long time, and just kind of the direction the industry I thought was going, I wanted to be part of something that was relevant, forward looking, and not just like managing new flavors and just kind of the old space protecting arena that large brands live in. So I was consulting for a little while, and the opportunity to build this brand presented itself, and I wanted to challenge myself. I thought the concept was really neat, and then next thing you know, we're sort of on the forefront of this hyper functional movement. We created like a truly unique standalone product, and now we kind of find ourselves in this unique position of carving out a new category, sort of like Red Bull did in 1999. We were just acquired by private equity a few months ago, so that I injected a lot of tools and resources.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been really exciting. It allowed us to bring in some really talented people that I get to work with every day. It eliminated some of the constraints that we were under operating as a founder-driven organization, just like anybody, right? Limited resources, sort of opinion-based go-to-market rather than research-driven go-to-market stuff. And now we're able to really pivot towards efficiency, accountability, and all the other things that organizations should be looking at. And so far, it's going well. Knock on wood. We're doing a huge brand relaunch here pretty soon. So we think this is going to be the year when we start delivering. And this very aggressive growth model that we've got set up for ourselves starts, I guess, now.
Let's go. Do you want to talk about your investors and why you guys decided to go with them?
I do, absolutely. we were courted by about 30 to 40 different private equity firms uh, because of where our market position, our brand position, and all of that stuff. We were pretty attractive. We were EBITDA positive as well, with a huge upside as it pertains to growth potential. So that made us attractive to a lot of investors. Uh, we found Azalea Capital because they were so aligned with us both philosophically and culturally, and I think that's really important, particularly when you're putting a better for you product in the marketplace. Consumers no longer just care about what the product is, right? They want to know that the people that are making it are aligned, that it's not just a hype message to try to sell products, but it's truly who they are. So not only there are products good for you, we try to treat our people as well as we possibly can. We give them the tools to succeed. We don't use um, any materials or ingredients that are not locally sourced or domestically sourced. Our packaging is 100% recycled material. So all of those things, I think, create a foundation from which you can launch products that really speak to your consumer, both from a product perspective, but also from a values and infrastructure perspective. Azalea lines up with that. I mean, if you go to their website, you'll their core values are published on it. And I mean, name me a private equity company that leads with that and has the confidence to do so, right? I think that's it's really nice to be partner with somebody like that. I mean, obviously, it's still about the bottom dollar, but they understand that you can get there in a way um, that does it in an ethical, moral, people centric way.
I love it. So, talk a little bit about pickle juice. The only time I've ever heard about pickle juice in a standalone is in a pickleback shot of Jameson.
That's
So
right.
you're telling me that pickle juice is good for me. I've never thought of it that way, but I'm sure you guys have spent lots and lots of time around the initial product discovery. But tell me a little bit about the science behind it. How'd you guys find out that pickle juice could be leveraged as a functional beverage? Give me a little bit about the brand origin story and kind of the formulation and that stuff.
Yeah. So fascinatingly enough, pickle juice has nothing to do with pickles or pickle brine. Uh,
Well, that's
we
good to know.
Well, we actually own the trademark to Pickle Juice. It's a trade name like Band-Aid, Xerox, Kleenex. The problem is that before we started marketing this product, or sorry, I should say my predecessor started marketing this product in the early 2000s, nobody was talking about pickle juice. It wasn't a thing. It was pickle brine because nobody's out there juicing pickles. And we discovered actually when we were defending our trademark at one point that before our existence as an organization and our products' existence, nobody had ever done a internet query for pickle juice. It didn't exist. But now, because of our popularity and we're actively promoting and marketing and researching this stuff, people conflate pickle juice and pickle brine. So we spend more
Mm,
time educating people on the difference. The reason we called it that is because we use a proprietary grain of acetic acid that blocks the nerve receptors that cause muscle cramping. That acetic acid made it taste a little bit like pickles. It's very vinegary. So we leaned into that because when we figured when you're introducing a product that interacts at a neurological level with the human body, it can be pretty intimidating. People are like, "Oh my God, are you disrupting? What are you doing?" Right? So
yeah.
we wanted it to be familiar, accessible, unintimidating, and speak to a clean story that everybody was kind of familiar with. So, um, there's all the old folk remedies of pickle brine and stuff. So we leaned into that, and it really helped bring the product to market. But now we're kind of like, oh no, we've got people drinking brine out of jars, and they're like, it doesn't work, and we're like, it's a different thing. So we're working through that. But yeah, we're I guess to some degree we're the victims of our own success.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's definitely where mine went, was like, oh, this is, you grab your pickle juice when you're done with the pickles and pour that into a cup, and then off you go. But you're talking about actually juicing the pickle itself, and then that's kind of serves as the base ingredient, or not even that.
It has nothing to do with pickles.
Interesting. Okay, so pickle
It's
juice was just kind of literally just the flavor profile, and you guys leaned into that flavor profile.
yeah, exactly. We joke that if we called it Cram Stopper 9000, people would be more reluctant. So
That's funny. Okay, so let's talk about the formulation. So what is it that is blocking out crampage? I tried this. I got fascinated with the California mission system and tried to on vacation last year to walk from each mission in California, starting with the one in San Diego, and then go to Oceanside. And my body made it 22 miles in, and then I just couldn't move my legs anymore. So I had to reformulate that attempt at that, going up the California mission system, just because even being a pretty, regular athlete, I could run 12 miles, no problem. But even walking 22 miles, I started to really cramp up. So what is it about your guys' formulation that is an actor on the cramping, the thing that creates cramping in your body?
yeah, it's the acetic acid.
Mm.
So muscle cramps are a neurological phenomenon. They're not a physiological phenomenon. That's why when you talk to 10 people, you'll get 12 answers on muscle cramping, right? They'll say eat a banana, stretch, hydrate, it's circulatory, whatever. Those are all different potential trigger mechanisms. There's about a dozen of them out there, but essentially your brain responding to those trigger mechanisms is what actually causes the cramp. And a cramp is nothing more than a hyper engagement of the muscle. If you think about flexion and extension, like if you flex your bicep, you have to release your tricep, that kind of thing. But picture that on a microbiological level. And usually, if you get an exercise induced cramp, it's preceded by like rapid fire twinging. That
Mm-hmm.
twinging is your body sending a flex extend message. And eventually, that flex message exceeds the ability of the release message to keep up with it. So you're getting flex, 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 and that's kind of that nodding feeling you get from that's a muscle cramp or a Charlie horse. What we do is we engage the exact same nerve receptor channel through engaging your esophageal receptors at the back of your throat and prevent that signal from coming through. So, like the analogy I use is like a bunch of traffic trying to merge into a tunnel. It can only process so much traffic and data, and picture that within your body, and that's kind of what's happening. And that's why you take our product as close to the cramp as possible without breaking through. You'll have relief for about 45 minutes, and then you have to do it again. So that's kind of the general concept behind it. And the acetic acid, that vinegar, is what made it taste a little bit like pickles.
Interesting. And is the base formulation, is it derivative? Is it derivative of some kind of naturally occurring thing, or is it a synthetic formula that you guys created?
It was created in a lab using only 100% natural organic ingredients. So our products, it's a USDA rated food product. It's not a pharmaceutical. It's not a supplement. It's rated as a food. It's USDA organic certified. And one of the things we're trying to show to the community is that you can use hyperfunctional food products to achieve real and acute results. It's just knowing how to use it, what to use, and when to use it. And then you're going to start seeing the emergence of more and more of these kind of products that have the same level of efficacy, and in some cases, better level of efficacy than like a pharmaceutical product or a supplement product, but you're not putting artificial junk in your body.
I love that. So you guys identified this formulation and what it could ultimately do. What was the use case that you guys saw in the market that was underserved? Was it endurance runners? Was it Ironmen? Like who was the ideal consumer that you guys decided to go after?
Well, there are a few. So the athlete is the most obvious example, we do a lot of activation at what we call participatory endurance sports. So a lot of like 100-mile bike races. We do a lot of like ultra marathon stuff. We do some triathlon stuff. We're really big in like the rugby space and areas like that, cricket that lasts for days, um, literally. um, but a consumer that not a lot of people think about are the people who get nighttime leg cramps, and ultimately 50% of members of the U.S. society get cramps of some sort. We think of the athletically induced cramp, but so many people get nighttime leg cramps, and this stops it in 60 seconds. Um, so it's really anybody that gets muscle cramping. We also discovered that there's a huge population of the outdoor worker, like the roofer, the yard guy,
Your
and we
muscular
discovered.
class.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great way to put it. We didn't really realize that was a customer until years ago when we noticed that the per door sales at one particular grocery retailer who skewed heavily towards that type of demographic exceeded most of the other per door retail. And when we asked them for some demographic analysis, they're like, "Yeah, it's that's the person buying it." So it really serves those three customer segments the most, like the athlete that's prone to muscle cramping, the somebody who's outdoors strenuously working, and then also the nighttime leg cramper.
Interesting. Yeah, the leg cramp thing is interesting. I know when I haven't spent some time, surfing, and I go out and spend an hour, hour and a half in the ocean, my foot will just get those crazy, cramps where your toes spread out all weird, and you're like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah,
And I think a lot of that is, atrophy, but it's also hydration. So obviously you guys decided to deliver it in a beverage. Is that kind of the other part of it? So delivering the active ingredient in a hydrating formula?
it's the it's in a liquid form because the receptors that you have to activate for this to work are at the back of your throat.
That's so
And if
strange. That's so interesting.
yeah, it's like if it was a pill, it would bypass it,
Yeah.
right? And there was somebody tried to develop a neural inhibitor in pill form, and I was like, I don't think it's going to work, and it didn't. But it's exactly why, because those receptors at the back of the throat. So if you put it in any other delivery system that I'm aware of, it wouldn't work.
So let's talk about your channel strategy then. So you spent some time talking about retailers. Did you kind of go out originally to kind of like the GNCs of the world and the vitamin shops? Like, did you guys start direct to consumer retail first? Like, how did you go to market?
A little of both, I guess. We started with a local grocery here in Texas, so Berkshire's HEB, Berkshire Brothers United, and then we built up our B2C platform simultaneously, which we felt was a healthy way for everybody to get it anywhere quickly while we built up our brick and mortar presence. But because we have such a broad demographic, we need to be in all the outlets that those people are shopping at, and brick and mortar is still very, very relevant. Not just well to everybody, it's more relevant than people even realize. But now you can find us everywhere from like your local run shop to grocery stores, all the way up to Walmart, sporting goods stores, and now this year we're focusing on growing our grocery presence, and also you're going to see us launching in a lot of C stores. We waited on the convenience stores because we really wanted the brand to have an identity because it's such a unique thing that we wanted to create a level of brand awareness that could then be supported by impulse purchasing. So now we're growing into that space, but we're in about 15,000 stores around the US.
Wow.
We've got distribution in Australia, New Zealand, other parts of the Pan Pacific region, South Africa, Europe. Canada. We're opening up Mexico, so we're growing at a pretty decent clip.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. So, you know, when you're trying to invent a new functional beverage category, essentially, what's the hardest part in convincing people that it actually works, and how do you showcase that in your marketing?
It's interesting. That's a really good question. What we found was the best way to prove that it works is to show people that it works. So we've been very heavily focused on a consumer activation strategy because we're very fortunate in the sense that the product we developed works within 60 seconds. So if you're cramping and you drink this, it'll go away. And it does so quickly that you can directly correlate one action with the other.
It's
So
like instant relief, essentially.
for sure. So what we do is we're like, all right, well, very simply, let's go find people where they're cramping, right? So
Seems
um,
simple enough.
yeah, so then we have to, and other than sneaking into people's bedrooms, which is probably not the best go-to-market strategy, we focused on the endurance sports ones. But and we picked endurance sports because in team sports you have a like a 1 to 53 ratio, right? So your nutritionist or athletic trainer will have this product, but the athlete won't really fully understand what it is. All they care about is my cramp's gone, I can go back and continue doing my thing. But endurance athletes, they're doing their own research. They're very active on boards and social media, talking to each other. So it gives you that grassroots sort of communication. So it's one thing to have people using it because it works. It's another thing to get people to tell each other that they're using it and works. So that's what got us into endurance cycling, ultra running more than marathon running because a, a lot of marathon runners are like one and done. It's sort of
Yeah.
like a bucket list thing for a lot of marathon people. So we figured, well, if we have to like weed through that crowd and we do a marathon and 70% of those people are never going to run another one anyway, we're really it feels too shotgun for us. So we can get a lot more focused on specific marathons that are either qualifiers or require qualification, or cycling because not a lot of people go drop 5 grand on a bike and only do one century either. And the run up for that, if you will, pun intended, is a lot more complex than trying to get a marathon done. And then ultra running, obviously, because that's a huge lifestyle sport as well. Um, and a lot of us here came from the lifestyle sports arena. I was a skateboarder and freestyle skier, and then played rugby. So that I kind of understand that lifestyle sport where people are like so passionate about it that it's not just a thing they do, it's the thing they do, and everything else is a thing they do. So if you can tap into those types of personalities where that passion resonates with everything that they're doing, they're going to help be your spokespeople for you. So that was the strategy early on. It worked pretty well.
Yeah, that's interesting. And it's almost like if you just post out by the finishing line, or you're like a pit crew going along with the race, and anybody who's getting knocked out from cramps, you hand them the beverage, they try it, and then you've got that instant relief. And maybe in some instances they can continue or complete the race. But I imagine that's a really amazing opportunity for storytelling too, right? So it's not only the trial moment where they put it to their mouth and they have that instant relief and they can get back in the game. But I imagine capturing that moment on film, and then being able to translate it into social media can be a pretty powerful proof concept as well.
For sure, and that's one of the things we're focusing on is capturing that better. We haven't really had the resources to be able to do that ourselves, right? So it's kind of we are the victim, if you will, of the um, you know des- desperate times lead to desperate measures, or necessity being the mother of all inventions, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So we got pretty creative with it, um, and now that again we're blessed with these resources, we can now start being really targeted with it. We're going through brand refresh exercise. Um, our VP of marketing, Anya, is doing an amazing job kind of ramping us up to help tell that story, because there's a delta between our efficacy and the awareness of the efficacy, and then there's also a delta between awareness and demand, um, or supply. So we're trying to bridge those gaps, because whenever we're in retail, we've never been discontinued from any retailer. We've never had a customer say your product doesn't work. So and we really stand behind what we do. So we know that if we get a customer, if we get a customer, we have a customer.
That's cool. So you talked a little bit about early adoption from athletes and professional trainers or trainers for teams. How do you, and then you also talked about the power of word of mouth, right? Because within these communities, when people find things that work, they tell all their friends about it. And it's a very advice driven category, especially for new people who are trying to enter into it. Is there other ways that you can activate those communities to become either ambassadors or content creators, or are there influencers within these micro communities of Ironman and endurance sports that you can kind of formally activate and kind of turn on to be your brand storytellers?
Yeah, for sure. We've got about 100 brand ambassadors that we're working with now. We actually have a pro cycling team that we're working with, a couple of rugby teams that we're working with, and they're telling those stories. We're growing and being a lot more strategic about that network. It used to be that it was more opportunistic out of necessity, but now we're able to be more strategic about it. We're looking at people that are aligned with our values, that are already um, believers. I think for us, it's important to get somebody that represents us, that actually uses the product and believes in the product, rather than just paying somebody based on their followers and the demographic of their followers. We want to always come from a place of credibility and authenticity. But beyond that, yeah, it is something we're doing, and some of these brand ambassadors are amazing. Patrick Sweeney in the ultra running community has been great for us. He puts branding up, talks about us when he's telling his story. Mo Reeves is going to events with us on our behalf and for us, and people are really embracing that brand and our culture and who we are. But we feel the brand ambassador and influencer model is really important in this day and age. But that said, we won't go to somebody just because of their following. We need to make sure that they're aligned with who we are and that they actually use the product.
Yeah, so I imagine it starts with like a tremendous amount of sampling, like just shipping products out to people, see if they use it, see if they give you feedback, see if they just start talking about it organically,
Yeah, sometimes it's the other way around. We see
or
somebody
they
that is
find
using
you.
it,
Ah,
or
interesting.
yeah, or they're using the product. We On July 4th, we were there's a baseball game between the Rangers and the Braves, and the pitcher of the Rangers was drinking our product in its retail package on the mound. So we're like, well, that's pretty awesome. So yeah,
Is
sometimes the opportunity presents itself to us, and there's no more credibility than seeing somebody on Monday Night Football drinking a bottle of your product.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Is there a methodology or a way that you can identify those moments? Because, sometimes, like you said, that's like something that flashes on screen, but it's not necessarily something that went out on a Twitter post, or the sports announcer isn't saying, "Hey, what's that guy drinking in the dugout?" Like, is
Yeah.
there do those do those moments just bubble up to you guys organically, or do you guys have a methodology in which you can kind of, you know, listen to social, or have AI watch TV for you and kind of identify those moments where the brand shows up, and then you can go and activate with that person?
It's a little of both. We usually, when those moments happen, our inboxes get flooded from friends and stuff and fans. So that's awesome. Um, but yeah, we have like digital tools that we use to sort of scrub that stuff, whether it's print. A lot of times it's weird because it'll grab the transcript of the event in one of our print search engines, and then our print scrubbers, and then we'll go tie that to the media event rather than. Oh, but a lot of times it's just humans doing human stuff. Somebody sees it and tells us about it. Um, it's it's pretty hard to miss because once it happens, everybody's talking about it,
That's
and it
cool.
comes across our desk. Because I'm sure we've missed a few on like smaller, more local type of levels, but whenever it happens on a national or international level, I mean, last year the UK, the English national soccer team was drinking the product in a game, and it was like front page news on the BBC, and they called us and they're like, "What is this stuff?" And we ended up on the sports page of the Sun, and so the curiosity of the people around the product is still really helpful for creating that awareness back to us, and then of course we will then take that and just push it out um, to share it.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you talked about the better for you category and the kind of the organic natural ingredients category. We've got Expo West coming up soon in Anaheim. How important are these moments where kind of the aggregate of the natural products or the wellness industry or the better for you category kind of come together? Are those moments that you guys are able to participate in?
For sure, we're actually launching our whole new brand at Expo West, and we're like right right in front of the like what everybody's calls the basement, where like a lot of really innovative products goes. Like you go down the escalator, and we're right there. So we're going to be introducing our new look, our new feel, and we may even introduce a new product out there. So those events are they're still very very important. I mean, particularly that show. Buyers go to, business actually gets done. It's not what we call a tire kicking show, what that unfortunately some others have become. It's that show, Cial in Paris, and a few others are still very very relevant. We have this funny saying around here. It says, "Don't make it hard for the customer to give you their money." So we, we try to respond to the market as much as trying to get the market to respond to us. So um, we'll go where we can uh, have the most effect. Sometimes it's Expo West, but we also go to like the National Athletic Trainers Association shows. We go to MLB, NBA events that Kat, who manages our high profile relationships with sports teams, like we've become so welcome in those spaces that we're now getting invited to go to those spaces. We've been invited to go to spring training with the MLB to introduce um, how to stop muscle cramping. So it becomes not just about our product, but also about our knowledge of how to solve a real problem to those organizations. So um, it's pretty cool to be part of something and know that you're not having to mislead a consumer to go to market.
Yeah, that's cool. On Expo, this will be the second year that the podcast is covering Expo. So as media, so hopefully we'll get to meet you guys in person and sample the product. I'll look forward to that, and I'll look forward to hunting you guys down. So you talked about this brand refresh. Can you talk about what's going into that? Why was that one of the first things you guys decided to do when you got this new investment?
Sure. Like I said earlier, when you're in a founder led organization, a lot of your decisions are based on opinions, right? Opinions and personalities. They're uh, and they're of course rooted in experience and history, but um, you kind of hope you get it right. You're sort of effectively throwing darts at a wall, hoping they stick. Um, they're educated darts, but they're darts nonetheless. So now we're really trying to see understanding how the consumer is responding to our products, what perception our products are creating. Are we conveying truth and accuracy in our packaging and our messaging and how we get to market? So that at the most elementary level, we're also building a foundation to grow and introduce new products that are not just pickle juice, right? And right now our company is called the Pickle Juice Company, so it's kind of eliminating consumer confusion as we launch different products under this umbrella parent company. So just things like that, preparing us for growth and future proofing, and that's kind of what the exercise we're going through is all about, um, and and figuring out who our customers really are and how to get to them.
Love it. So you've worked across some major consumer brands. We talked about, some of the larger CPG brands that you've been a part of. What are some of the bigger lessons from big CPG that you think have helped you the most while building a challenger brand?
Um, some of the lessons I learned relate to the constrictions that large companies that have to protect their fiefdom, if you will. Uh, I remember at one point we were doing some R&D on something, and it took about a year to do the R&D against something that really the concept was developed in about 30 minutes. But it's like they suffer from analysis paralysis. They suffer from hierarchical constraints, right? And I think these large organizations are having a difficult time reacting to the speed of the market today. And the speed of the market is really built for emerging brands, right? The kind of where we are, where you're not constrained by resources. You have the tools to have really smart people in place. You have the tools to go to market and compete with everybody else, but you're still sort of scrappy. You're out there fighting every day. Um, you're doing the things to get to market rather than allowing yourself to get slowed down by interoffice politics or hierarchical egos or all these other little resistance to change things that are driven more like by people trying to justify their jobs rather than driving success for the organization. I think that's one thing, and it's a huge advantage. On a practical thing, you just learn how to do a little bit of everything because at some point you don't have the people you used to just ask to do stuff for you.
You got to be a
You're,
bit of a generalist.
yeah, which I think is great because it helps you really understand um, a little bit about everything, right? And it helps you narrow focus, eliminate the noise, and really stay lean, but in a way that's effective and quick moving, and and doesn't allow distractions. Um, so that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's cool. So, how do you evaluate new channels, partnerships, or categories to go into? You talked about some of the ones that you have been involved in, but if figured out like surfers, for instance, were, uh, being menaced by this problem of muscle cramps, like how fast would you go into that category? Would you try and test it first? Like how do you, you mentioned that half the population suffers from a muscle cramp, so that's a pretty wide TAM, but you also have to be really disciplined. And like, you even talked about the idea that marathon runners aren't good because they only do it one time. So how do you maintain that discipline of, knowing that TAM is 50% of people, but then you still have to be laser focused to activate the channels in which you're going to have the most ROI as an emerging brand?
Yeah, so it's looking at a few factors, right? It's can you access a broad swath of that target um, on a collective basis? one, so can you create demand um, through some level of scale that is reasonable and accessible, right? And then two, can you get them the product in a way that they're used to acquiring products in a way that's scalable and accessible? Those are probably the two biggest pieces once you've identified a potential consumer. So, for instance, surfers, great example. Um, it's very difficult for us to get into surf shops and skate shops, and the reason is because there's no distribution
There's no
infrastructure for
point of
second.
sale. Yeah.
Right, like because your surf shop will go directly to the brands from which they're buying whatever it is that they're buying. Running stores are the exact same way. Now, bike shops inversely are different because those component parts are so expensive that there are centralized distributors that we can use to get into bike shops. So now we can go to those distributors and say, work with them to distribute our product to now scale to all of those shops within their network. So that's one very practical consideration that we have to look at is that hub and spoke model because unfortunately we're shipping liquid. So for me to send a case of product to your local surf shop, as much as I would love to, because we really do genuinely believe in supporting local independent retail. I think I mean, we're entrepreneurs. We we came from the scrappy, bootstrappy kind of space, and we're fortunate enough to get to a level of success where now we have backing. But it's difficult because by the time that product lands on their front door, it would be so cost prohibitive for them to get it on the shelf and make a profit and then still be competitive with the grocery store right around the corner because of the lack of efficiency through the logistics pathway. So that's one thing. Now, on the other end of that is, can we create demand on the consumer level in a scalable fashion? For instance, the the senior and boomer demographic is a lot more prone to nighttime leg cramps than a younger demographic might be. However, they're very difficult to reach at an awareness level, right? They are less less accustomed to using social media. They're less accustomed to using what we would consider modern marketing vehicles, and you have to use traditional and also now narrower offerings in that traditional media stream. So AARP magazine is the number one read print anything in the world because they're
Crazy.
selling to a consumer that is used to generationally that type of behavior, right? So, but taking an ad out in AARP magazine isn't cheap. Um,
Wow.
they're also more likely to be watching traditional network TV, particularly game shows, right? So, can you activate within those game shows? Do you take an ad out during those game shows? So, these are all very all in or not methods to marketing. Whereas with social, you can be hyper targeted. You get a lot more juice out of the squeeze, if you will, particularly when you're still sort of in that hyper growth mode. So those are the two factors we look at the most when we're assessing um, new consumer targets.
So, on your direct consumer business, are you guys shipping directly to consumers through Shopify? Are you using channel partners like Amazon or Walmart for direct consumer? Where are you most active in going directly to customers outside of the retail chain?
All of those.
Yep.
The Um, but obviously, we have to charge for shipping whenever you go off Shopify. So we're using, and that's part of our reinventing too. We're going to see exactly what the purpose of our website is. Is it informational? Is it experiential? Is it, the next layer of fact finding? Is it a retail outlet? Is a little bit of everything. So that's part of this exercise that we're going through with our refresh. We've also used it as what we call like B to micro B. Those are independent retailers, so they can get product and be competitive, and have like a wholesale outlet. So we kind of act as if we're the wholesaler, but Walmart.com and Amazon.com are and are going to be where most people do their online shopping. And I think brands are making a big mistake by not figuring out a way to make that work. Um, you still see brands that are kind of like resistant to participate in that arena, but if you're going to be relevant to your consumers, you better figure it out, because you're going to be missing missing the train when it leaves the station.
Yeah, well, it seems like a lot of consumers want that relationship with their brand, especially for something like this that has reorder potential, right? So if you can get somebody on a subscription or something like that. But, it's pretty hard with beverage to not be excited about that free shipping option and to have it, show up on your doorstep a day later, or, Walmart.com guy delivers it to your doorstep. That's a pretty attractive offer still from a consumer perspective. So I see where beverage clients, especially, need and should be leaning into those third party direct to consumer channels, even if they don't get to own the consumer journey the whole way through.
For sure.
Well, Philip, fascinating. I'm glad we were able to, clear up some of my own misconceptions about pickle juice. And, I was definitely thinking, yeah, Brian, you just chug the pickle juice afterwards. But, you guys have an interesting and fun brand challenge to go out there and figure out. And it sounds like you're well on your way to doing that. If folks are listening today and they want to maybe learn more about the product or do some more research, or perhaps put in an order and try the product themselves, where would you like to send folks?
Yeah, they can go to picklepower.com and find all the scientific studies are on there. Our case testing through Sterling University and UK national swim teams on there. Um, our phone number's on there. If you call an actual human being, we'll answer the phone. If you
Let's
call
go.
anyways, that's kind of neat. But yeah, we're not hiding. So if anybody has any questions, honestly, we love getting emails, phone calls, whatever. So you can go to picklepowder.com or find us on all socials under Pickle Juice. Pretty easy to find these days, hopefully, if we're doing our job right.
Let's go. Awesome, man. Well, hey, for those of you, if you are watching the show for the first time, don't forget to give us a follow or a subscribe. If you're listening to the show and you want to give us a rating on whatever podcast platform you happen to be listening, that's how the show finds a wider audience organically. And last but not least, if there's an endurance athlete or somebody out there who suffers from muscular cramping, or maybe a brand marketer or somebody in the better for you beverage category that might enjoy the conversation that I had with Philip today, don't forget to share the show. And with that, I will wish you great success. And I'm excited to check out the product in a couple of weeks when I go check out your booth at Expo.
Awesome, Dylan. Can't wait to see you there.
All right. We'll see you soon. Thanks, buddy.
Bye.